right now we have the Honorable Karl Hood with us, Minister of Foreign Affairs. Good morning.
Good morning.
And happy Easter to you.
Well, thank you. Well, Easter is almost gone.
Yeah, it's pretty much gone now, but I felt like saying it, okay?
Thank you.
Welcome to New York.
Thank you. Thank you.
No,
Thanks for the invitation to be here.
Of course. We know that there's a Summit of the Americas coming up, so just tell us exactly when is it going to be and where would it be held?
Well, the Summit of the Americas is going to be starting this week in Colombia. It's a summit that brings together 34 countries in the Americas and discuss things that are of importance to the Americas. There are going to be some controversial things this year which may have to be dealt with in the process. But generally, it's a summit that where things that are very important to the region, the whole Americas are discussed. It's a part of the OAS, the Organization of American States. Right. So basically, it's bring together leaders, foreign affairs ministers, civil societies, to discuss very important things.
Okay. So in past years, what exactly has the summit achieved?
Quite a lot. The summit has brought together some things that right now we are, if I may say, we are happy with and we are living with. For example, the summit have adopted the Inter-American Democratic Charter. Also has dealt with negotiations of the free trade of the Americas, the FTAA, the Convention Against Corruption, multilateral mechanism, the control of drug abuse and trafficking, rights of indigenous people. They brought together the participation or the inclusion of civil society to be integral part of the process. I think what happens a lot of times is that governments on one hand sometimes thinks within a box and think that the government themselves can handle it, but the summit has been able to bring together ideas in relation to civil society and the integral part in developing the protocols around the summit, and so civil society is really a part of it now. The summit has also helped to bring connectivity through the hemisphere, through the countries that are involved, and spoke quite a lot of freedom of expression of persons within the hemisphere. So it is a good thing when leaders can come together and discuss things pertaining to, they're not just their own country, but the region on the whole. And so this summit, which will be the 6th Summit of the Americas, as I said, there are going to be some controversial things, right. But I'm looking forward to some very good discussions there.
Right. Okay. And we want a little insight as to these controversial things that will be brought up this year. So tell us some of the main things that would come up.
Well, for example, the exclusion of Cuba is going to be raised this year. Though this summit is brought together 34 democratically elected governments, the question of what is Cuba, where is Cuba, or should Cuba be able to participate within this summit, will come up this year. It's already been tabled. There have already been discussions on that. So that is going to bring some really interesting dialogue. The other thing, the question of the Malvinas Islands or the Falkland Islands. It's the same place, but the Argentinians call it Malvinas, the English call it the Falkland. And as to the future of these islands is something else, something that has also been put on the table as it relates to the summit. And then there's the overall question of how does the OAS and the Americas deal with the question of ALBA? again, that is earmarked to be another talking point. And so I say controversial because these three areas, you would find that there are some countries that are very, very firm in one direction, and others firm in the other direction.
Right, the Falkland Islands and Alba, they had an issue not too long ago as well. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us exactly, give us a little bit more about Alba, you know, and the concerns that it's caused with the OAS.
Well, Alba is an integration movement that is started by Venezuela that seeks to bring the countries of the Americas together. And I say Americas because there is the idea of the North and South, and the fact that the Caribbean and Latin America is a very huge block. And the idea is that there is need for closer collaboration with that region, and look to that region rather than outside of the Caribbean and Latin America for developmental support. So that's the idea that is behind ALBA. But again, the rhetoric behind ALBA is what some people are concerned about. Because it is a socialistic rhetoric. Now, again, the idea of socialism as it relates is a question that keeps popping up as to what is socialism. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I think some people look at socialism as communism, which to me is a different thing. I think socialism is an ideal that wants equity for all and support for all, but it is going to be. It has caused some concerns in some areas, and it's going to be. It will cause a little more concern again, because there are some countries that are very dead against it, while others very much support it fully. So, as I said, this summit is going to have some very interesting topics and very interesting things behind it. So,
well, some Caribbean islands are already part of ALBA. So, what is Grenada's point of view on ALBA? Are we supporting? Are we not supporting?
Well, Grenada has been an observer, has not been a member of ALBA, and. There are some who advocate very strongly that we should be members of ALBA. There are some who are not very keen on being members of ALBA. But again, that's a debate that is ongoing. But on both sides of that coin, there are some good arguments. But sometimes I believe that when we begin to look at our country, and forgive me for being very, very patriotic. I'm kind of stuck in that mode. I love this country, and I can't see myself living somewhere else. I can see myself visiting, but not for long. But I just love Grenada, and I love to see the development of this country. And to me, whatever can develop us, I'll be for it.
Okay.
Whatever is going to give us a push, a lift to move forward, I'm all for it. I think I will leave.
All right, but just to go in a little deeper still, why are some countries so for ALBA and some countries so against it? And from what I understand, when we spoke of some Caribbean countries being involved in ALBA, we're talking about some of our very close neighbors as well, other OECS islands, right? Such as?
Well, the thing why some countries are in ALBA is because there is a lot of developmental aid that is there in ALBA. It's actually, if you think of it, it's a lot of grant funding that is there. And so St. Vincent is a part of ALBA, Dominica is.
Right.
St. Lucia just applied for status in ALBA. As I said, we are observers of ALBA. Antigua is in ALBA. And so, as I said, some are very much for it.
So they're for it for the grants and so on. So why are the others against it?
I guess, as I said, remember, it's the rhetoric sometimes. The rhetoric is socialistic. And for me, I see a clear distinction between what are communistic ideals and what are socialistic ideals. As a person who have studied the scriptures, and I look at, especially in the book of Acts, at the start of the church, the early church, the ideals behind the start of the early church was very socialistic ideals, where everyone had all things in common and willing to share all that they had with the others so that all would have. That's a socialistic ideal. And it's an ideal that I subscribe to. An ideal for equity, for support, for those that are weaker than you are, for building together, for bringing people along with you and not going by yourself, as the other ideal of the market economy, and it drives a process of individuality and individualism, and I am going to get ahead at all costs, irrespective of what happened or who I climb upon. A socialistic ideal changes that fulcrum, that it balances on equity and support for each other. And I subscribe to this kind of ideal, and this kind of a willingness to see persons grow together with you. Right? So I guess some of the rhetoric is pretty harsh, but again, let's face that the years when there was the East and West, the America and USSR, that strong fighting against each other, this is gone. This is long gone. Right. Communism is practically, if I may say, it's not a world force that pushes for dominance anymore, and so idealism is not as palatable as it used to be in times past. So that, to me right now, it's a matter of national development and support and willingness to work with people who are willing to work with you. And let me just, I know I've taken all the time, but let me just look at a very interesting case in point. Two of the most socialistic countries in the region, Cuba and Venezuela, and two of the more generous countries in the region are Cuba and Venezuela. It amazes me, looking at the difficulties that Cuba faced over the years, resulting from the U.S. blockade and all of that, and the ability to still be able to support other countries in terms of medicine, in terms of other areas. It amazes me how they're able to do that. But again, it's based upon an ideal, an ideal of equity, and an ideal of support for your brothers. That's the ideal that they live on, and so they're able to do that. Venezuela. I've been to Venezuela, and I've seen in some areas the difficulties of where some people live and the barrios, and yet, when I think about it, I said, but maybe they should concentrate quite a lot on helping their own people first. Yes, they do, but on the other hand, they still are willing to open their hands and open their hearts to others. We benefit from Petrocarib, and there are some projects that are here right now being supported by Venezuela quite handsomely. And so even though, as I said, even though there's some rhetoric involved, the bottom line of working together with and supporting each other is one that I would always support and I will always go with.
Yeah. Now you spoke of your love for Grenada, and you wanting it to develop. So tell us exactly what is Grenada hoping to achieve from the upcoming summit of the Americas?
Interestingly, in these summits, there are quite a lot of things that you could find on the outskirts of the summit, not just in the meeting, but in meeting other countries, doing bilaterals, strengthening engagements. So these meetings are very good for two reasons. One is what happens in the meeting hall, the fact that you're able to air your views, bring your ideas to the table, help to form consensus, help to bring important things to a head. And then the other side that's also important is a meeting with other countries and developmental partners and the possibility of finding support for your country. So it's both of these things that we are looking at, which we have done in almost all the conferences that we go to. Not just spend all the time in the meeting, but when the meeting is over, you make contacts with other countries, you sit with them, you discuss your developmental plans, and you seek the support. And we have gotten quite a lot of support in that way with these bilaterals. So that's why I think these summits or these large meetings are very important for us.
Now you're saying that, and my imagination is running wild now. Is there also a social aspect to these sorts of meetings? Like, are there entertainment and that sort of thing?
Well, there usually is. The host country usually would have a reception, basic reception all the time. And so there you meet people, there you meet countries, you meet other leaders, you meet other foreign ministers, and there you're able to first exchange cards, seek to get a dialogue with them, and maybe those that you have met before or those that you would like to meet and like to discuss with. And so you form alliances, and it's a good way of reaching out. It's a good way of bringing your things to the fore, and it has definitely helped us over the years.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned a little while ago the OAS, right? What's the status of the OAS and its future in the Caribbean?
Interestingly, you asked this question because last year something new started. Something new that involved the Caribbean and Latin America. It's based upon the very same kind of principle of the OAS, but it's for Caribbean and Latin America. It's a trade, really working into an agreement, working into a collaboration that is going to help to strengthen the dialogue between the Caribbean and Latin America, help to strengthen trade and investment, help to open up the doors for this bloc. Now, if you look at Caribbean and Latin America within the bloc of nations, we are and we can be a very powerful bloc if we hold together. And so the idea of that kind of link has come to the fore. There were meetings to start this thing going. Throughout last year, there were quite a lot of meetings. And finally in December, there was that first summit. All right.
And
so
this is completely unrelated to ALBA and that stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
But again, all the ALBA countries are part of that.
Okay.
Okay.
And it emanated from the very same place. Right. So, but it's a very good thing as far as I'm looking at. Now, let's take Brazil, for example. Brazil is an emerging economy. And Brazil, maybe in the next few years, may be one of the strongest economies in the world, if they're already not on that way. So that it's important for us to have stronger ties with Brazil. The Colombia, Argentina, all the South American islands, not islands, but countries. It's important for us to build strong links and to be able to work together on issues of mutual interest so that we'll be able to build a strong force. So you ask about OAS, but I'm speaking about something else. And the reason why I speak about something else is because this other group, though it's built along the very same way of the OAS, it is different to the OAS because in the OAS there's the USA, there's Canada. But this is speaking about the South dialogue, not North and South, but South, just south of that. So that and I see a great future for us in that, in that if this catches, it'd be easier for us as it relates to trading, and then the other part of that is the opening up of the air routes, right, between the Caribbean and Latin America. Right now, we are going to Colombia for that summit, but we have to fly up to Miami and then back down to Colombia. Right. Whereas if there were proper ties, proper air routes between us and Latin America, it'd be much easier for us, much shorter for us. Because the other way we can go is to go to Trinidad and hop with the Copa, and it's so the opening up, it's going to be good for us. But the OAS is there. It has been there for a long time, and I don't see it dying right now.
Okay, well, there you go.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we really wish you all the success in the upcoming summit. Hopefully we can have, a good time.
Yeah. Well, I'll be able to tell you what we achieved when I come back from
Of course. We'll get that report.
And the good things, right?
So,